Hey everybody, welcome back to the Chaotic Little Book Corner. My name's Acacia. Today I'm going to be doing my Thrillerathon Wrap Up. I am pretty happy with how Thrillerathon went. I read 8 books. How I read 8 books is I started one early and then read about 100 pages of it a day. And then I read other books as well during that time within a day. So I read, and it took me I got about 200 pages in before Thrillerathon started, and then it was another 300 pages to go for it to finish. So I was reading it for like 3 days into Thrillerathon when I was reading shorter books to start with, and then I dived into the thicker books later on. It was all strategically planned, and I spent a lot of time reading. So let's dive in. I have 8 books here. Let's go. Order least to most enjoyed, as always. Diving in. I'm going to be honest, I skim read the last half of this. This is James Ellroy, The Black Dahlia. I hated this book. I absolutely hated it. It is the story of the Black Dahlia. It's written in the strangest font, like it's trying to be a newspaper sort of font. It is too long. It is too slow. It is too rushed. It is bad. It is just so bad. And it is not what I wanted it to be. And on top of that, it is the beginning of a series which is not necessary for a book that is about a real life killing. It's unnecessary. If the other 2 that I've seen that are in the series are based on true crime, then it should be a different thing altogether. It shouldn't. I was disappointed. I was unhappy. I hated it. I won't be reading it again. I'm getting rid of it. Apparently my table is falling apart. Then we have The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. I'll read whatever Riley Sager comes out with. I like her books. This was no exception to a point. I liked it. I didn't love it. I don't think I even... Yeah. I enjoyed it. I got what I wanted out of it, and it was pretty predictable. It's the story of a girl who goes to a summer camp, and she's with some roommates, and they disappear. And then she goes back to the summer camp as an adult and a counselor, and is forced to face her past. Pretty self-explanatory, pretty classic premise, really easily predictable. But I don't think that ruined it. I think it was still okay to read. If you don't like being able to predict the ending, then don't read this book. It's not worth it. If you don't like being able to predict the ending, I don't mind it. I actually sometimes prefer it because it gives me less anxiety when I'm like, okay, this is what's going to happen. It's going to be fine, or it's going to be terrible, whichever it is. Just breathe. And then I read After the Eclipse. This is by Sarah Perry. I read this on the recommendation of Mercedes, whose channel I will link in the cards. I didn't love this as much as she did, and I was left feeling more guilty than anything else about the fact that I enjoy true crime. Because I agree with Mercedes. This is a pretty special book in that it focuses on the victim's life rather than the victim's moment of death. And that's pretty special, and it's very different, but I also like the psychology of the murderer or the violent act. I feel like a lot of the time a person who does a violent act is chalked up to mental health issues. And I don't think that that's fair. I don't think that anyone would kill another person without the pre-existing temperament to kill a person. I can see moments of self-protection, like that makes sense to me. But to actively kill a person for fun or for spite or for, you know, some gain, I can't believe that a person wasn't already pre-existing in that mindset, and their mental illness has nothing to do with it. It's just how I feel. I could be wrong, and some of you might disagree with me, but that's how I feel. So I liked this book. I just wasn't... It made me think a lot, and it gave me a lot of things to mull over. Not all of which I enjoyed. So, there's that. The Chalk Man by C.J. Tudor. Really easy read. Super quick. This is a story of a bunch of kids who are on summer vacation, I believe. And they're drawing chalk people at the end of their driveways to let them know, hey, we're going to the mall this day, or we're going to the park this day. And one day they find a chalk man that sends them to the woods and they find a dead body. It was fun. It was easy. It was quick. I enjoyed it. I'm gonna keep it on my shelves. I just don't know when I'll get around to rereading it, but I probably will eventually. And I'll read other things that C.J. Tudor comes out with, for sure. This one I really enjoyed. It took me a day to get through it, and I'll show you why. It is massive font. It's not like YA font, but it's pretty big font, and it's pretty well spread out. And then the chapters are pretty short, and there's like pages that are just like, all the chapters end in this way. So it was really simple to get through it, and it was only 404 pages. No, that's after the author's notes. 398 pages, which is, in my mind, not that hard to get through. I don't have a lot of trouble getting through that kind of stuff. So this is a story of a young girl who is married in a happy, committed relationship, but she's not sure if she's happy in her life. And then she meets Jim Jones and follows him. And it's about that cult. The ending is... I'm going to spoil something here, because if you were thinking it already, I'm going to spoil it for you. So if you don't want to know, like, go away for like 2 seconds. The ending is exactly what you think it's going to be. Exactly what you think it's going to be. Okay, you can come back now. So with that said, I still loved it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really investing and really dark read. It was wonderful. It dived into a world that I've been curious about ever since I read the nonfiction on Jim Jones and Temple's People. You want to read, if you've read the nonfiction, this is going to be more fun. Well, not fun, but if you've read the nonfiction, this is going to make more sense. The nonfiction is a good chunk of a book. It's probably around 400 or 500 pages, and it's heavy. but it's really worth reading if you're interested in cults. It's a good breakdown of it because it goes into Jim Jones' life from conception onward. And it teaches you a lot about the idea of a person who is just undeniably charismatic and can get people to do things that are out of character. But this book really spoke to me. I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend it. So, I think I said the title. I think this is Laura Elizabeth Willett by Beautiful Revolutionary. I think I said the title. If I didn't, I'm going to put it there now, too. Twice. It's fine. The Silent Patient by Alex Michaldas. I received this for Book of the Month. I am pretty happy with this one. I'm not gonna lie. I think this one and this one are pretty tied head to head for the third favorite book. The only reason this one snuck by is it dives more into psychology. And there's a psych ward involved. So, you guys know me. If I can read a thriller that involves a psych ward, I'm pretty happy. Which sounds terrible, but because I've been in a psych ward, I feel very aware of that setting and I can visualize things, though I'm always fascinated how things can be done at psych wards when you usually, I don't know if this is everywhere, but where I was, you were checked on every 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes, clockwork. That included when you were sleeping. So, I don't know how some people get away with certain things, but this was interesting. This is the story of a woman who kills her husband and then stops speaking. And it's her psychologist conversations with her and trying to figure out what happened. I really liked it. Really liked it. This was a reread for me. This is Alice by Christina Henry. Dark horror. I really love this book. I have adored it since I read it. It's just what I'd want an Alice in Wonderland retelling to be. Because it's really messed up. And it takes dark elements of it and goes even darker. I really loved this, and I would really recommend it if you'd like Alice in Wonderland retellings. This one is quite special. And I am super happy that I got to read this. And yeah, I love this book. So the premise is, you open in a hospital with Alice, and she's speaking through the wall in a hole to Hatchet, and he tells her that the Jabberwocky is awake, and something happens in the asylum that makes it so that the two are able to escape, and they end up going on this adventure to try and solve what happened to Alice to put her into the asylum in the first place, because she has no memory of it. Really liked it. Really, really liked it. And then my favorite book of the month, and my favorite book of the Thrillerathon, and the one that I was reading prior to Thrillerathon and then broke down, because it was 493 pages. This is The Alienist by Caleb Carr. I'm going to read the sequel on audio on Libro FM. If you don't know what Libro FM is, it's an Audible opposite, kind of. It's basically Audible. It has a few less choices. They're getting more. But you pay the same amount as you would Audible, but your money, part of it goes towards the bookshop of your choice. So I go to print. And I'm really happy with it. So I really like Libro.fm. It's what I prefer. It's what I use, so I'm very happy with it. But anyway, this is The Alienist. I got this in Book of the Month. It has a rip in it. It didn't have that when I got it. I don't know what happened. I'm very unhappy. So there's that. This book is about... If you have a weak stomach and you don't like bad things happening to children, do not read this book. It is not for you. This is a story of children prostitutes being murdered and an alienist or a psychologist coming in and having to solve the case with a female detective, two detectives who believe in fingerprinting before it's proven, and a journalist, and they all go about trying to solve this case. And it's wonderful. I absolutely adored it. I would highly recommend it. I thought it was the right pace and movement. I didn't think it was boring at all. I've heard it called boring. I didn't find it that way. I was constantly intrigued and always wanted to know what was coming next. So I would definitely recommend this. If you are curious about it, I would pick it up. So there is my Thrillerathon wrap up. I hope you enjoyed. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you loved it, click that subscribe button down below. I love my Patreons. Thank you so much for supporting me. I will talk to you all in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.